Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 0 of the Nocturnal Disney Podcast. My name is Brice. I'm going to be the host. And right now, I just want to go over a little bit of my background, give you guys an idea of what I'm all about before we actually start talking about Disney. I've been going to the park since I was 2. My parents took me there, and I know that they took me there because they love to tell me this story about how when we were leaving Disney World to head home, I was sitting on my dad's shoulders and I was crying and apparently screaming at the top of my lungs that I don't want to leave Mickey's house. Well, little did they know the monster they created, because I kind of haven't. I'm 27 now, and every year for the past 25 years, I have gone to Disney in some way, shape, or form. Be it to the parks, just to a resort, or if I went to Vero Beach, that's a great time as well, over on the east coast of Florida. Now, I went every year, but I didn't really start going until I was about 20, because that's when I got a season pass. Once I got a season pass, I really kicked it into high gear, going probably no less than 15 times a year. Now, I'm not going up there and staying in the resorts. We're staying overnight every time. I'm only about 3 hours away, 2.5 depending upon who's driving. Yeah, I'm super close. So it's okay for me to go on day trips, and I do that quite a bit. I said I lived about 3 hours away, and that would put me south of Orlando in Cape Coral, Florida, often referred to as Southwest Florida, right across the river from Fort Myers, which is where Thomas Edison used to live. But for me, when I'm not in Disney World, I'm typically working. And I work right now, and I have for the past 7 years, as the lead graphic designer at Clear Image of Southwest Florida. However, I also have a license to sell health, life, and annuities here in Florida, obviously. I have a certificate in architectural drafting, and 2 years ago I actually went and followed a dream of mine, which was to get certified as a 2D animator. So I have that as well from the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. I did the online courses because, well, I had to work. But I had a really good time doing it, and I learned quite a bit of stuff. While Disney really is my first love when it comes to entertainment, and it'll probably be that way until the day I die. I mean, for the foreseeable future, it's Disney. But I also love all other things in the realm of geek as well. Movies, comic books, television shows, video games, all that kind of stuff. If you talk to me about it, there's a very good chance that I'm going to, if not love it, at least like it and be able to have a conversation with you about it. Favorite comic book hero growing up, and to this day, hands down, is Batman. He's the best. One of my favorite shows on television right now is Once Upon a Time. Obvious Disney references and connection aside, I just think it's a really, really fun show. The storytelling is pretty good. I say pretty good. Storytelling is very good. I really enjoy it. Graphics can be a little bit hit and miss, but for the most part, I think they're really well done. And the show is just really fun to watch. And a show that I did not mind the bad graphics on the first season because it was just so enthralling was Doctor Who. I got into that thanks to a couple of friends of mine who now live out in Utah. I got into that show about 4 years ago. Unfortunately, because I was doing the schooling and whatnot, and I work a lot, I haven't been able to catch up on the show. I've gone through all of Chris Eccleston, and he was my favorite Doctor, even more so than Tennant, which I got through as well, until I met Matt Smith. And Matt Smith right now is crushing it for me as the Doctor. I'm halfway through his run. I just saw the Christmas special where the Doctor keeps going back to see the same little boy who ends up helping him at the end with the crashing spaceship. So, Doctor's always got a plan, and I like that. Keeping it BBC-wise, Sherlock, obvious precursor of Batman, and I could not be more thankful for that because Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock is phenomenal. He crushes it as that character. It made me forget about the Guy Ritchie movie that came out a couple years ago with Robert Downey Jr., and I really enjoyed that movie, and I saw that movie first. Then I watched Sherlock, and let's put it this way, I'm happy they haven't come out with a new Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock. Would I be there to watch it? Absolutely, 100%. But I don't know. I feel like I can't see anybody except Benedict Cumberbatch be that character right now. I think he's awesome. And my favorite movie, non-Disney movie of all time, hands down, is Jurassic Park. That movie is fantastic. I discovered the book when I was 22. Again, I'm 27. I've read it 10 times in those 5 years. I love that book, and I love that movie even more. I watch that movie probably once a month, and I saw it 4 times in theaters when I was a little kid. I was born in 89, and that movie came out in 93. I was 4, and I saw it 4 times, and I loved it. Matter of fact, I got the VHS of it, and I remember watching it so many times that I literally wore out the tape. You know, we talked a little bit about my family earlier and how they took me to Disney, and I really owe my love of Disney to my parents. My mother more so than my father. My father likes Disney. It's not his favorite place, but he does like it. They honeymooned there. Like I said, they would take us on family vacations there. My brother and sister-in-law, they also honeymooned in Disney World. They went to the Polynesian for a night, went on a Royal Caribbean cruise, came back, decided to extend their honeymoon for a day, and went to Pop Century and had a good time at the parks. It does feel good to be doing a podcast again. I was part of another podcast called Let's Talk Television Radio, which was a weekly show that me and a friend of mine did. His name was Klein. Still friends. But we did that as a recap show for The Flash and Arrow, and for the first couple episodes of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. And I had such a good time doing that, but our schedules ended up conflicting, and it just really wasn't working out. So, decided to cut ties and said, listen, we'll come back to it at some point. But in the meantime, I really wanted to do another one. And there's no better topic that I can think of than Disney. And so that's what we're talking about. Because if I have a lot of extra time, which I do, I just came into some time. So just coming into some time, wanting to talk about Disney. My friends, we have a podcast. I have a mic, we have a podcast. It's going to happen. One thing I actually did want to go over, though, real quick about the show itself is that it is going to be a family-friendly show. I know people might see the name of the show, and that's why I wanted to discuss it in this episode, the Nocturnal Disney Podcast, and feel like, oh, it might be a dark show, it might be inappropriate for children. It's not that. It's not that at all. What it is I have insomnia, and I've had chronic insomnia since I was 10. So I am up all the time. But since I work, most of my uploads and posts and my working on this podcast is going to be at night, early morning, stuff like that. So I figured, why not call it the Nocturnal Disney Podcast? Not only is it accurate, in my opinion, it's a pretty cool name. So don't worry about that. Now, Disney does go and take its stories from darker stories, much darker stories, as a matter of fact. I don't know if you've listened to the Snow White version. I'm sorry, the Brothers Grimm version of Snow White, but it is very different than the one that we got from Disney. And I love both of them, and I'm happy Disney put out the one that they did. But just the other story is very dark. And if our conversations kind of take us down that path to where we're talking about some of the darker stories and the darker tones of those stories, I'm gonna go there, just so you're aware. What I'll do though at the beginning of those episodes, maybe put an annotation, maybe put a little warning saying that there might be some content not suitable for younger children. As a parent, you can listen to it, determine whether or not it's okay for your kid, and go from there, because I'm not to say how to raise your kid. I can only make it easier for you in certain ways that I can. And guys, that's gonna be about it for this week's episode of the Nocturnal Disney Podcast. Be on the lookout for episode 1 that is coming out very soon. It is going to be some movie news, a little bit of news from Hollywood, and a movie review of the brand new Jungle Book by Jon Favreau. So be on the lookout for that. That will be out soon. Until then, if you want to reach me and get a hold of me, you can. I have a Facebook at Nocturnal Disney. I also have a Twitter handle at Nocturnal Disney. And if you want to email me, I have that as well. It's nocturnaldisney@gmail.com. And that's NOCTURNAL Disney@gmail.com. I had a great time talking to everyone tonight. I hope you learned a little bit more about me. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. I'm a very open book. And until next time, guys.